are again. Today is April 12th, 2020. As we say, coronavirus time, so we're trying to make good use of our time, be constructive. So join me now for coffee. We have our IKI Krav Maga mug, so you can see here, and our tradition is we make a blessing before we have a drink.
Amen.
Okay, so I'd like to talk a little bit now about my early days at the Oyama Dojo. I had come back from Israel and I was looking for a place to train. I lived in Brooklyn, New York, and I was looking for a serious place. I wasn't looking for some casual neighborhood place. I tried out a few places locally, some basements that some guys were training in, some ninja institute. And then I decided to take the yellow pages and just go throughout Manhattan and check one dojo after another. Went to a lot of places, didn't really care for them. Finally, I came to the Oyama Dojo in the Village, as it was called, on West 4th Street in Manhattan. Huge place. I walk up quite a few flights of stairs, that's half the workout. Get there, and I'm watching a class. I was in my 20s and I'm watching these guys, strong, fit, jumping, side kicks, flying, tough guys, Japanese people, etc. And I started talking to some of the people there, and I was just very impressed with what I saw. So I recall watching the class and speaking to Sempeis Masaki Terao, one of the assistant instructors over there, one of the young black belts from Japan, and I decided to join. It was a very good decision. I loved it from the first moment, and we trained hard over there. The head instructor was Saiko Shien Shigeru Oyama, may he rest in peace. Later became known as Soshu. And there are 6 uchideshi. Uchideshi are live-in students from Japan, apprentices, the old system. These guys lived in the dojo, they came from Japan, and they worked to become full instructors. It's a wonderful school, fantastic atmosphere. We worked very, very hard. I remember it well that some of the classes were conducted by the Uchideshi, some by Saiko Shien himself, and many by my wonderful instructor, Sensei Rick Romero. In those days, I remember I got my membership card. I remember a very, very proud moment. I still have it. The Mas Oyama Karate membership card. Have it right here with my address in Brooklyn, New York. And then we got our Kyokushin membership cards, and they would write down our ranks on these, as we moved up the ranks, they would write them down, and every belt test was very exciting. And I remember this well, carry this with pride. U.S. Karate Organization, Kyokushin Headquarters Chairman, Shigeru Oyama. Wonderful times. And I worked hard, and I decided to keep track of myself, meaning a lot of people think, as an instructor now, I see this, oh, I've trained so hard. I come so often to the dojo. Why don't I get a belt? Well, because you're lying. You're lying to yourself. You didn't come that often as you think. So what I did is I kept track. Here you see 2 examples. These are original Oyama calendars from the 1980s. As you can see, on the bottom I write down major accomplishments, events I attended, belt promotions. And here I would write down the classes I attended. I attended mostly morning classes because I was studying university at night. Here you see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday morning there were no classes. And as you can see, the Monday morning class was 7:15 to 8:15. And every time I came, which was 5 days a week, I would write down a line and then add up the number of lessons I attended each day. And I also attended as many evening classes as I could. Occasionally I attended on a Sunday, but usually that was the day for homework, as I was a full-time college student. So this was when I was working in the stock market. I worked on Wall Street, and every morning from 7:15 to 8:15 I was in the dojo. I also stayed later on for a special group, which was the Uchideshi training. The Uchideshi training was included in our program, and it was designed for these students from Japan and anybody else who they considered worthy of joining. It was a very tough workout, a lot of conditioning. Still remember it. Saiko Shien taught this class himself. He had the shinai stick, the bamboo stick, and we would do 6 sets of the following. 60 push-ups on our knuckles, knuckle push-ups, 60 splits, right, left, center, run around the dojo for a certain amount of time, squats, sit-ups, just sets of these again and again and again. As you can imagine, it gets very tiring. And Psycho Shin would walk around with a whip, not with a whip, the shinai, which he would use as a whip. Again, this is the 1980s, before the whole modern era. And he would say, harder, faster, and he'd hit people in the butt. And then they'd start pushing, going harder. And I thought, what is this nonsense? They're acting as if it was painful. And then he came to me. He always called me Mosh for some reason, not Moshe. He always called me Mosh. And as I was getting to like the 5th set, the 6th set, you're doing 21, 22, and you can't do any more push-ups. And then I felt a triple whip on my rear end, and he goes, Mosh, harder, faster. That day, I didn't sit down in the subway, I remember, because it was just a little bit too painful to sit down. But that's what the training was like. Years later, when I came back to visit after I lived in Israel, I came back, and I saw that this sort of training came to an end. And I asked Psycho Shin, and I said, once I became a little bit older, I could speak to him on a little bit more of a friendly basis. I asked him, what happened to the old training? And he said, oh, the modern students don't like this. They won't tolerate this sort of behavior anymore. Can't do the old ways, but I enjoyed the old ways. Breaking wood, push-ups on our knuckles on the wood. Everybody came with their piece of wood. In fact, when I came back, somebody recognized me and right away said, you, wait. And he ran out and got 2 pieces of wood to do the knuckle push-ups on. And I became known for that, the knuckle push-ups. Became very good at that. It was wonderful training. Here's an old relic again. The North Kyokushin American News. What's the date there? February 1987. So we go back a few years. Some of my diplomas, certificate of rank. There I was as a much younger man. But I took great pride in my training, and I worked very hard. After the training, I would treat myself to a drink of papaya. As I walked to work on West 4th Street, I worked on Wall Street. I walked way up, made a right, walked all the way to work and enjoyed it. I remember there was one day I was sparring, which was my favorite part, and an older guy, more advanced belt, did a roundhouse kick that I didn't block. Right in the nose, right in the face, knockout. Talk about seeing stars, I saw stars. They took me to St. Vincent's Hospital in Manhattan. I remember that, St. Vincent's Hospital, St. Vincent, and I got to work late. Of course, in those days, there were no cell phones, but I asked for someone to please let me use the phone in the hospital, and I called my manager. I worked at Payne Weber's in Portfolio Dynamics as analyzing stock portfolios. And I said, Dolores, I'm afraid I'm going to be a little bit late. I got kicked in the head, kicked in the face. I'll be a little bit late to work. I'll be there as soon as I can. When I finally got to work, she just laughed and said, I knew it was just a matter of time until you got hit like this. But it was outstanding training, outstanding training. We would begin with the basics. Psycho Shin would lead us up and down, kicking, front kick, side kick, round kick, and so forth. Very challenging, very hard work, but it gave me the foundations. We began with meditation, we ended with meditation. And I remember that when we did the meditation, he told us, everybody comes to the dojo with problems. Everybody comes with issues. Everybody comes with things that are bothering them in the outside world. You do your meditation, you clear your mind, and at the dojo, you're 100%. You're 100% in the training. When the training's finished, you take this renewed energy that you now have, and you go back to the world, and you face those problems head on. And you say, I can handle those problems. I can take care of those problems. And every day I would do that, and right after that, go straight down to work in the stock market and deal with my issues over there, and later on in the bank. And that was a valuable lesson for life. those foundations are still with me, and even though our style of Krav Maga is very different in terms of techniques and tactics, but the foundation comes from those early years of training and the discipline and the respect. I also remember that we always entered the dojo face in and walked face out. And they explained to us, this is where you do your training, show respect. And I found a lot of similarities in the behavior towards the dojo as we treat the synagogue in Judaism. That you don't walk with your back out, it's always you walk in and you walk out, you bow, you show respect to the place you train and the people you train with. And those were wonderful years.